Welcome to Free Coaching Friday. I am looking forward to this session because today we're going to talk about when your basically emotions goes up, your intelligence goes down. And why on earth is that the case? Well, I want to share with you that we need to understand that it basically comes from way before, 428 before Christ, was a guy by the name of Plato. And he said that human behavior basically flew from three sources. And that was, it basically came from desire, emotion, and from knowledge. Yuri, it's great to see you guys on here. So today we want to look at what part of our behavior takes us to the point where we literally default that when our emotions go up, our intelligence comes down. I'm Dr. Anthony van Torne. I've got a PhD in leadership and management and also in behavioral analysis. And I help people get to the next level because I've realized one thing, whether it is your conventional business, whether it's a network marketing business, or whether it basically is just your home, your family and relationships, you can go next level by starting to understand and implement the principles that I've been speaking about over the past few weeks. Now, today, you want to look at this thing. If you look at when Plato speaks about what really drives behavior, what is the sources does it? The first thing he speaks about is desire. So you and I need to understand what is desire. Desire is when you and I want something badly. Desire is you desire it. It's like you want the taste of it. You want to feel it because we all have an innate desire. Now, when we look in terms of who we are, remember behavior is divided into the four different behavioral styles that we have of people. And I just want to remind you, the D is the driver, the I is the influencer, the S is the supporter, and the C is your compliant person. So when we look at the four different ways in which we basically are made up, well, these three things, desire and emotion and knowledge, comes to the fore. And I'm going to help you understand this in a very practical way today. So let's tackle the topic. When it comes to desire, the D's, what is their basic desire? Well, their desire is that they want to be right. They can't help it. Retake. The D's want results. They actually want results in everything that they do. Because whether they are at work, whether they are in a conventional job, whether they are in a network marketing business, or even at home, they can't help it. They want results. Now, imagine if you are a father that has got a D or a driver behavioral style. You can't help it. You want your children to perform. You want them to have results. So when they come home and the report card is not what it should be, well, there's a certain thing that lacks, the desire for them to perform. And the fact is that you wanted results. And that's why you basically start acting out in a different way. Now, when we get to emotions just now, I'm going to show you again, when the emotions go up, the intelligence will go down. And this is how these are interwoven today for you and I to understand how our behavior is directly influenced in terms of the amount of emotion that we put into it. But I first want to take desire through these four stages. So the D wants to have results, so they can't help it in everything that they do. If they have got a low power job, they'll soon get frustrated. They soon might even move on because they want to have the opportunity to produce results in an environment where they're being celebrated, that they're being recognized, because to them that is very, very important. When it comes to the family, they can't help always driving because they want a result. So sometimes at times might be very unfair. I want to just tell you guys, once in my life, I was very, very wrong with my one daughter. She came home and I think there were 7 subjects. And first 6 of them, A or A plus, and one of them was a B. And I defaulted to the behavior of a driver dad saying, so what happened to the one subject? I can never undo that again. And unfortunately, because of who I am, the expectations that I put my children to have the result actually tend out to be sinful. I mean, that behavior of mine was just purely sinful. And I have asked that person for forgiveness, but it's there. The reality is I said it. I can never take it back. You know, it's like a scar. Some of you know that I've unfortunately just gone in for surgery and that my hand is really not in a good space. So maybe I'll just show you, you know, that we will carry the scars. Now, right now, my hand is healing very, very beautifully. Yes, the scabs are there, the stitches are there, but I can tell you this is proof of pain. And again, what happened in this situation here, Gaz, all the way there from America, is great to have you, is that I did not apply wisdom, because when your emotions go up, your intelligence goes down. I allowed my emotion of caring for a dog that I don't even know get close to the dog, and I wanted to really befriend him and put him in a different situation and to get him out of his misery, to stop barking. But you know what? My intelligence went down because I got weak and I lifted my hand to basically connect with the animal. I had no right to do that. It was an infringement of his space. And guess what? There's the result. But this is the kind of result that I did not want. So yes, although the driver is results driven, that is what can happen in your life. So when we get to the next behavioral style, and that is the I, the influencer, we know that one thing is, what do they desire? They desire one thing. And this could be your partner in life, this could be your children, or this could be somebody at work. They desire to be recognized. Now, how do you recognize a person? You recognize them for what they do, for what they say, and sometimes for what they don't do. For instance, if you have a child that is very well mannered, they want to be recognized if this happens to be their behavioral style, that they're an influencer. They want to hear from dad, man, I'm so proud of you. I want to recognize that you have got such great manners. And what will the result be? More good manners. So you and I can basically influence it. Now, there's always this toss up between, is this manipulation or is it literally teaching the person to go to the next level? Well, think of the work environment, in a conventional work environment. Wouldn't you want your influencers to literally give you their absolute best? Well, there's the key. Recognize their efforts. Recognize them for who they are and what do they do. Because when they feel recognized, they'll get out of their mold and they will say, I will do whatever it takes. And I can see a lot of love coming through because somebody here is saying, that's me, and they're putting their hand up. And that's right, because you will embrace it. If you're in a network marketing business, and if you happen to have a lot of influencers working with you, now these are people that you will spot them a mile away. They're well dressed, they like branded clothing, and they sort of catch the limelight a bit. Now, if you recognize them for who they are as people, oh my gosh, next level, just like this, because you recognize them in their mold for who they are and for what they are doing and for what they are saying. But as I said, sometimes the people are more quiet, need to be recognized for what they're not saying. Maybe they were ready to insult you and they embraced that moment of controlling themselves and they did not insult you. And guess what? That deserves recognition. So maybe there's somebody at home today that could have told you a long time ago, listen, go find a place and fly a kite because you are just not coming to the party. If that's you, fix it. Because recognition is the desire that these people have. They desire to be recognized. When we take it through to the next person, that is when we talk about our supporter. What is their desire? Their desire is to build relationships. Now, hold on. You're busy at work. Talk about a conventional business. People don't have time. What do you want to do? These people want you to come to a point where they say, please stop, smell the roses, and just chat to me. Find out who I am. Find out what's happening in my life. Find out what's happening in my daughter's life, what's happening in my husband's life. Because when you care enough, you will slow down and start building your relationship with this supportive person. Because remember, we're busy with the behavior that's called desire. I'm going to bring this back into the ambit just now in terms of when your emotions go up, that means out of kilter, that your intelligence will go down. You're going to understand the context just now, but this is the foundation. So as you have to build relationships, you sometimes have to make time for that person. Question, who's the person that is so close to you that you actually miss them? That you can literally reach out and touch their shoulder and say, hey, thank you for always being there next to me. I actually haven't noticed. You're with me every single day. You're sitting next to me. You're providing me with food. And you know what? This kind of person just wants to build a relationship and hear that, thank you for making me great food today. Thank you for providing a meal for us. Because that building of the relationship, it's different than recognition. Recognition is a little bit at a higher, more intense level. But when it comes to the supporter, the relationship is where you chill down and you get it to the next level. And then lastly, to understand the foundation, what is the desire of the high compliant person? C is for conscientious or compliant. They have one huge, huge, huge desire. What is that desire? To be right. Let's contextualize that. Number one, they want to be respected that their knowledge is of the best out there. Doesn't matter what topic you talk about, they normally have done a lot of research and they are good at what they're doing. So don't despise them for always being right. I can tell you that in relationships, let's say you have a husband that happens to be a high C, he's compliant, and he always has the answer. Now, your response can be, there's no sense in having a discussion with you because you always know the answer. No, turn that into an opportunity because it's their desire to be right. When you understand, when Plato spoke about behavior that flows out of one of these three systems, how important desire is of what people want, then you'll make the time to start filtering through whether it's the driver or the influencer or the supporter or the compliant in terms of how to go to the next level with them as you set your foundation. Then I want to go from desire, I'm going to skip emotion, because emotion is right in the middle of this. I'm going to go down to knowledge, because this is the easy one to solve. When it comes to knowledge, again, through the DISC, it's very easy to engage irrespective of what medium you're speaking of. If we're speaking about conventional work, I mean, with the driver, well, all I have to do is ask him the question, what? Because when it comes to knowledge, he wants to know what must he do, what must be done in a certain way, what must be said by when. So if you just respond to the what in the driver's life, you basically are able to untap or unlock the knowledge side of what they already know or might learn. They also will ask you, let's say they hear about a new product in the market, they'll say, what's in it for me? It's immediately because their pocket is important to them. And somehow there's something small that drives them as part of their behavior. Remember, they love to be in control. So when they ask what, they will even ask it in a very curt, short way, like, what must I learn? What must I learn? And please don't judge them, because sometimes they can speak and come across very harshly. But, you know, it's just the exterior. They've just learned to grow up to look tough. But on the inside, you find most of them are very, very, very good people. When you get to our influencer, how do we unlock the knowledge for an influencer? What question must we ask to get them going? Not what, no, because that was for the driver. For this person, it's the question, who? Because they want to know who else is successful in this business, who else has got influence in this business, who else is being recognized for their efforts. They will sit up and they will take notice. Let's talk about network marketing. If they know that person A has been recognized on stage for achieving a certain accolade, a certain level, or at a certain gala and rewards event, they went up and they were basically celebrated, they'll say, do you know who got the trophy? It's the first thing they want to associate with. They would also want to associate with who else was there, who else that was important that could basically see them to say, hey, I recognize your efforts, because who was in the room? Oh my gosh, we're at the president of such and such company there, and they said they noticed that you won the top award. When you deal with people in this way, you got this influencer to basically immediately respond and apply knowledge to that situation, because the moment they know who's involved, they automatically start asking the questions from the backlog in terms of who else could be involved, because they have got the ability to connect. You know, a lot of people can communicate. This person can communicate, but I can tell you one thing, what this person can do, they know how to connect people. They will know person A to person B. They'll even let their mind cast back to years ago and know who was the right person for the job. Guys, you want to use people for the best way that they can basically perform in. Then how do we unlock the knowledge for the S? For the S, remember, they are relationship orientated. These are the kind of people that walk around with this S looks nearly like a question mark. So the question that they ask is, why? Why must I change my behavior? You know, I've been doing things in this way for the past 20 years. Now you want me to change it? So they're sort of a little bit resistant to change when it comes to applying that knowledge, because it's very easy for them to fold their arms and say, so what are you going to do about it? There's a little bit of stubbornness that can kick in. But if you communicate in an open, inviting way and say, and ask the question and answer their question of why are you implementing the new procedure? Why are you considering not to do something? Then they will actually engage with you, because unlocking their knowledge source. Now, sometimes because the S or the supporter is the more quiet person, you might even think that they don't have any potential. Why? Because if you are the driver or the influencer, you are so fast in being an extrovert that you stumble across this passage called time. Because sometimes you'll ask a supporter a question and they'll start thinking about it. And it will take time. Because remember, they need to work out in their minds, why is this important? So you want to unlock the knowledge, get to their why. Then lastly, as we move to the C, now how do we unlock their knowledge? Remember, their number one desire is to be right. So you're going to have to answer the question, how? These people inherently are so scared to make mistakes because they want to be right at all times, that if you can't share how this must be done, they'll never start. When it comes to network marketing, sadly, these are the last people that kick into action and get things right, because they want to understand procedure step 1, step 2, step 3. For goodness sake, sometimes I just want to say to them, you are so compliant of following all the rules that you want to read the entire policies and procedures before you actually move edgeway or go forward. Please just take a little leap of faith. Follow the leader that is leading you. And sometimes this S could be your very leader. They just lead you in a very quiet way. But they've been there. They've done it. So the S can answer the question how the compliant person must do it to get the result. So when Plato spoke about these 3 words that drive our behavior, and that is desire, emotion, and knowledge, I've now helped you understand how desire embeds the foundation of how you and I work with people. I've then gone to knowledge, and I said, what question do you need to ask? So let me just repeat that. For the D here, desire is results. For the I, recognition. The S, relationship. The C, to be right. What question do you ask them? The D, what? The I, who is involved? The S, why? And the C, how? I can just sort of tip my nose. How do you want to do that? Because you want to make sure that you deal with them correctly. But now when I come to the stumbling block, I said in my tagline, when emotions go up, intelligence goes down. It all gets tied to the word emotion. What's the difference between emotion and knowledge? Knowledge is a skill that you acquire either through education or experience. Sometimes experience is the greatest teacher. Sometimes experience is a greater teacher than 12 books that have ever taught you together. I mean, I've learned quickly. Experience. Do you think I'll put my hand against a dog's face very easily? Experience taught me pain. Pain is one of the ways that people respond the quickest and learn the fastest. So there's another key, but we'll speak about the topic some other day. How pain can drive people to get results quicker. You need to help them understand what pain they have in their lives so that they propel to the next level. But now I want to come to emotion. What makes emotion innate the biggest driving force of behavior? Because what is emotion? It is that catalyst through a relationship, through a circumstance. It's sometimes even just a gut feel. Sometimes you can just look at a person and go, something's not right. The emotion is there. The emotion of connect. Because some people are left brain and some people are right brain orientated. Left brain are people that do meticulously step 1, step 2. They're very stagnant in their approach, very step orientated, very analytical. Right brain orientated is a bit airy-fairy, all over the place, but very creative. So they can come up with ideas. Here's the truth. When it comes to emotion, you actually want to get the left brain and the right brain to meet one another and then add value to one another as you get to distilling that emotion into an action. Because it's only when you take action that you get results. So now, let's take again the DI and the S and the C, and we say to ourselves, what is it that trips them up when they get over emotional? What happens to their driver? Are you ready? This is where emotion goes up and intelligence comes down. The driver, anger and hostility. That's what happens to them. They immediately become angry. They immediately speak louder. They immediately show their force and their power. And you know what? You lose the battle. Imagine that you are 6 foot tall and your child is but how small they are. And you're over your child and you're screaming at the top of your voice. Do you think there's any learning taking place? Do you think if there's any transfer of knowledge? No. So if you're a driver, be aware that when your emotion clicks to the mode where emotion is up and intelligence comes down is when you show anger and hostility. Being hostile in a situation is not going to get you any results. I've laughed so many times. I see people that stand in a supermarket queue and start throwing a tantrum. And I just know that cashier's seen it over and over, and they just turn their shoulder and they just keep on doing what they're doing at the pace that they want to do it. They will basically push you to the fact you want to take something and smash it on the counter. But they've learned. Some people just arrive angry. They don't become angry. They arrive angry. So I want to ask you, is that one of your built-in problems? But then when Plato said that behavior flows through that source, is your source, when it comes to you handling your emotions, do you arrive angry at places? Well, I want you to have a serious chat to yourself today. Do a self-check and chat to yourself and look yourself in the face and say, get it right, because only you can fix it. If you recognize, if people say something and you're oversensitive and immediately you're angry, it's because your emotion is not under control. Now, you've got two ways you can respond, in the flesh or in the spirit. That's maybe a talk on another day, but what I can tell you is that whenever people fight, they fight in the flesh. I've never seen people fight in the spirit. So when you resort to your flesh, you're going to actually dumb it up and you're going to get it wrong, because your anger is going to get in the way. You're going to become hostile and you have spoilt it. In other words, the emotion went up and the intelligence came down. What is the one key when you get to basically our influencer that takes this to the next level? Guys, it's one word. One word that takes these people and trips them up badly. Anxiety. They become so anxious. You know why? Because this is comparison. Remember I said, going back to the desire of recognition. They can't help it. They compare themselves with the other person. Now, the other person's got access to people maybe with a higher wallet value. They've got more money in their wallets, okay? So it's easy for them to bank customers with more wallets. But you maybe have a sphere of influence that you know people that every day and ordinary. Guess what happens? Anxiety will kick in because you think you're just not good enough. You've defaulted to the very thing that's tripping you up. Stop being anxious, because being anxious is not going to get you anywhere. So, my friend, I want to invite you, if you are in a relationship and you find that you're always anxious when your partner arrives, or you're anxious and you've got discussions in your head in terms of what he's going to say, what she's going to say, you basically are anxious. Stop. Sit down and say for the person, help me out. I somehow am anxious in the situation. Help me overcome it, because I recognize who I am. I am so want to be recognized for doing the right thing here that I am over anxious and I have now got anxiety. Nail it. If you're an influencer, when anxiety takes you down, please nail it and take it down. Then what happens to my supporter? Guys, this is a serious one. Now, although these people are quiet of nature and quietly spoken, this is the one thing that trips them up and holds them back because of an emotion that they basically swallow. You know, when people get caught out, when they go cross border and they do drugs, they swallow the drugs. This is what happens to this person. They literally swallow it. They battle with two things: resentment and unforgiveness. Whoa. You know, this is always going to have a scar. Even when the scabs are gone, this in my hand is going to still have the scars. And if you are a supporter, you battling because you are basically feeling the scar every single day. And you nourish it and you nurture it, and you're sitting with resentment against that person. Maybe somebody that just overlooked you. They overlooked you for your promotion. Or somebody that just didn't say thank you because you made them a beautiful plate of food for the night. Or maybe somebody just didn't see that you had a haircut. And this resentment gets in your relationship. Or at the work. They look at you and say, well, why can't you just come and make a decision? Because they know that you tend to procrastinate. Because yes, you do procrastinate. That's who you are. But please, don't become resentful. And then don't let that go to the point where you start having a spirit of unforgiveness. Because when you don't, it's like drinking poison hoping the other person will die. Gilbert, I know you remember this statement. We used this years ago. What is unforgiveness? You drinking the poison, but you hope the other person will die. Guys, girls, let's not swallow this thing of unforgiveness that takes us to the next level. You and I want to make sure that we break that mold. And the last key today, what is the last person that can break through today if they hear? What is the one emotion when the emotion is up, when the intelligence comes down? What happens to this person? It's actually a state that is even worse than unforgiveness and this resentfulness from what we have from your supporter. This person here battles with what we call repressed anger. Now, there's a difference between suppressed and repressed. Suppressed means that you're pushing it down, but repressed means you push it way down, like a coil spring. Now imagine that you took out a coil spring out of a vehicle somewhere that's standing in the scrapyard, and you press that spring down, what's going to happen when I let my hand go? And it will just come out all over the place. This is what happens to what I call the compliant person that has swallowed it and kept it in and kept it in and hasn't dealt with that injustice, that hasn't dealt with something that maybe they are too perfectionistic. Maybe they're expecting their children to be absolute A plus, A plus, A plus in everything that they do, and the children just can't do it. You just have to get a hold of that anger of yours that is repressed, bring it all the way up, and start exercising a little bit of self-control. Now, the control that we have between a driver and the control that we have between this person are two different emotions. It's two different things whatsoever. The driver's emotion will be all over the place and people will see it. But this person would have swallowed their emotion, and that in the form of repressed anger. So I'm going to invite you today, if you are a compliant person, you want to break through, please, will you make sure that you break free from the repressed anger that is keeping you back in your business? Thank you for that thumbs up, because somebody is saying, that's me, and I'm going to respond. Guys, this was the session for today. Plato, 428 before Christ, told us that behavior flows from three things: desire, emotion, and knowledge. And all I want to say to you is, hold on to the desires that are positive and are pure. Make sure that the knowledge that you apply is applied because you can ask the right questions. And if you didn't know what to ask today, you know. You ask what, who, why, or how. But the key to the results today was to get the emotion under control. Because remember, emotion up, intelligence down. And you want to make sure, if you are the driver, get hold of your anger and your hostility and beat it. Become a better person. If you're the I, if you're defaulting to anxious behavior, nail it, overcome it. If you're the S, you're sitting with resentment and you're sitting with unforgiveness, today is the day. Make an appointment with yourself and say, self, sort yourself out. And if you are the C, and you've gone to the point that you basically have repressed your anger and you've become this quiet time bomb, I want to tell you this much. Nobody likes living at the edge of a volcano, because it's going to erupt any time. This is Dr. Anthony. This was Free Coaching Friday. I can't wait to speak to you next time as we take behavior and unpack it. See you next week. Blessings.